Barron Trump stood by the floor-to-ceiling window of his luxurious Manhattan apartment, gazing at the city skyline as the early morning sun cast a golden glow over the streets below. New York never slept, and neither did the constant undercurrent of political intrigue that followed his family. He had spent years avoiding the spotlight, staying far from the political chaos that surrounded his father, former President Donald Trump. But that morning, everything changed. His phone buzzed on the sleek, polished desk. The number was blocked. Normally, Barron ignored such calls, assuming they were spam or pranksters. But something, an instinct he couldn't quite explain, compelled him to pick up. "Barron Trump, you weren't hard to find." A deep, measured voice resonated through the speaker. The tone was calm, but something about it sent a chill down Barron's spine. He immediately straightened, his fingers tightening around the phone. "Who is this?" he asked, keeping his voice steady despite the unease creeping into his chest. "That doesn't matter. What matters is that if you want to protect your family, you'll listen carefully." Barron's heart pounded. His grip on the phone tightened. Protect his family? From what? "Your father is a powerful man, isn't he? But even powerful men have weaknesses." The caller paused, letting the words sink in. "We have something that could bring him down. And you, Barron, are the one who gets to decide how this plays out." Barron had spent his life in the shadows, carefully avoiding the battlefield of politics and scandal. But now, in an instant, he was being thrust into a world of high-stakes decisions. For the first time in his life, he was faced with a choice that could change everything. Barron Trump's grip on the phone tightened as he paced the room, his mind racing. He had always been careful to stay out of the chaos that followed his family, but this was different. This was personal. "What do you want from me?" he asked, forcing his voice to remain calm. The man on the other end chuckled softly, as if amused by Barron's composure. "Smart question. I need you to deliver a message." Barron frowned. "A message?" "Yes. Your father is scheduled to attend a private fundraiser tomorrow night. You will be there, of course." Barron's stomach twisted. The fundraiser was a high-profile event filled with billionaires, politicians, and media figures. His attendance wasn't confirmed, but it wasn't exactly a secret that he'd been invited. "What kind of message are we talking about?" Barron asked, his voice edged with suspicion. The line was silent for a moment before the voice continued. "You'll know when the time comes." A slow wave of frustration built up inside Barron. "And if I refuse?" This time, there was no chuckle, only cold certainty. "Then, the truth we have. It gets out. And trust me, it won't be pretty." Barron's breath hitched. He had no idea what truth they were referring to, but he knew one thing. His father had enemies, and some of them would do anything to see him fall. His mind raced through the possibilities. Was this a bluff? A trap? Or was there something real, something dangerous lurking in the shadows? "Why me?" Barron asked finally, narrowing his eyes. "Because you, young Trump, are the only one your father won't see coming." The line went dead. Barron stared at his phone, the weight of the moment settling on his shoulders. He had always been a silent observer, a background figure in the grand game of politics. But now, he was at the center of something big, something he didn't fully understand yet. He had less than 24 hours to decide what to do. One wrong move, and the entire world could change. Barron Trump sat motionless, the weight of the conversation pressing down on him like a boulder. His mind raced through possibilities, calculating every possible move. He had no idea who was behind the call or what kind of leverage they claimed to have. But one thing was clear. This wasn't a prank. This was real. He had to act. But how? His first instinct was to call his father. No matter how complicated their relationship was, he knew Donald Trump wouldn't take a threat lightly. But something stopped him. They had chosen him for a reason. If he went straight to his father, things could spiral out of control. Instead, he needed to find out what these people had on his family, if anything. He grabbed his laptop and quickly typed out an encrypted message to a contact he had kept under wraps for years. Liam Carter. Liam was an investigative journalist, one of the few people Barron trusted outside his immediate circle. He had helped Barron a few years back when false rumors were spreading online about him. If anyone could track down information, it was Liam. Within minutes, his phone buzzed with a reply. Liam, what's going on? This is unexpected. Barron, I need you to look into something. Someone just called me, claimed to have damaging information about my father. No details, just threats. Liam, anonymous? Barron, blocked number. The voice was deep, controlled. They want me to do something at tomorrow's fundraiser. There was a pause before Liam responded. Liam, this could be serious, or it could be an intimidation tactic. Either way, don't act without knowing what we're dealing with. Barron, that's why I'm talking to you. Liam, I'll start digging. But be careful. If they know your schedule, they know more than they should. Barron exhaled sharply, shutting his laptop. He had taken the first step. Now he had to wait. But waiting wasn't enough. He needed to be proactive. Grabbing his coat, he walked out of his apartment and into the crisp New York night. There was one more person he needed to see before the fundraiser, someone who knew the depths of political blackmail better than anyone. And if they had any hope of stopping this, they needed to act fast. Barron Trump stepped into the cold night air, his mind still spinning from the phone call. The streets of Manhattan buzzed with life, but for the first time in a long while, Barron felt like he was truly alone. He needed answers, and there was only one person who might have them. He flagged down a black SUV, one of the discreet vehicles always stationed near his building for security reasons. The driver, a sharp-eyed former Secret Service agent, gave him a curious glance in the rearview mirror. "Where to, Mr. Trump?" Barron hesitated for only a second before answering. "Take me to Abigail Monroe." The driver raised an eyebrow, but didn't question it. Abigail Monroe was a former White House staffer who had served multiple administrations. A political strategist turned fixer, she had seen and buried some of Washington's darkest secrets. If there was even a whisper of a real scandal about his father, she would know. The ride was tense. Barron's mind played through every possible scenario. If the threats were real, he needed to get ahead of them. If they were a bluff, he needed to know who was behind them. The SUV pulled up to a small, unassuming townhouse in Georgetown. A single light glowed from inside. Barron stepped out and knocked on the door. After a few seconds, the door creaked open, and Abigail Monroe stood before him, sharp eyes scanning him up and down. "Didn't think I'd be seeing you anytime soon," she said, leaning against the door frame. "Come inside, Barron. If you're here, it means trouble." Barron stepped into the dimly lit living room. The walls were lined with books, files, and framed photographs of Abigail, with political figures from both sides of the aisle. "Tell me everything," Abigail said, motioning for him to sit. Barron took a deep breath and recounted the call. Every word, every nuance of the voice, every vague threat. When he finished, Abigail was silent. She ran a hand through her silver-streaked hair and sighed. "They're playing you," she said finally. Barron's jaw tightened. "How do you know?" "Because this is how it starts. Anonymous threats, vague blackmail, pressure to act without knowing what's real and what isn't." She leaned forward. "If they had something, they would have dropped it already. Instead, they're using you as leverage. Barron swallowed hard. So what do I do? Abigail studied him for a moment before answering. You make them think you're playing along, but on your terms. Barron frowned. That's risky. Everything in politics is risky. Barron exhaled sharply. He had never wanted to be part of this world, but now he had no choice. The fundraiser was less than 24 hours away. If he was going to turn the tables, he had to act fast. Barron Trump left Abigail Monroe's townhouse with more questions than answers. The streets of Georgetown were quiet at this hour, but his mind buzzed with possibilities. If Abigail was right, whoever was behind the call didn't actually have anything. At least, nothing concrete. But they wanted him to believe they did. That meant one thing. They needed him to act first. As his SUV pulled away, Barron pulled out his phone and sent a secure message to Liam Carter. Barron, I need you to be at the fundraiser tomorrow. As close as you can get. Liam, you think something's going down? Barron, I know it is. Liam didn't press for details. He just sent back a simple, I'll be there. Barron's next move was riskier. He scrolled through his contacts until he found the number he was looking for. Unknown caller. He hit dial. The phone rang twice before the deep voice answered. You've made the right decision. That depends, Barron replied coolly. Tell me exactly what you want me to do. A small pause. The voice on the other end was controlled, but Barron could sense something, just the slightest hesitation. They hadn't expected him to call first. You'll make sure your father leaves the event early. Barron's grip on his phone tightened. And why would I do that? Because if he stays, the truth comes out. Barron exhaled slowly. They were bluffing. They had nothing. But instead of calling them out, he played along. Fine, he said, but I want proof first. A chuckle came through the speaker. Oh, you'll get proof. Just be ready. The line went dead. Barron leaned back in his seat, staring at the city lights flashing past the window. They were desperate to control the night, which meant he still had a chance to turn the tables. Tomorrow, the real game would begin. Barron Trump sat in the dimly lit back seat of the SUV, watching the skyline blur past him. The pieces were falling into place, but the game was far from over. He knew that whoever was behind the threats had underestimated him. He wasn't just his father's son. He was about to prove it. The next evening, the fundraiser at the Grand Liberty Hotel was in full swing. The ballroom shimmered with crystal chandeliers and golden decor, filled with high-profile guests, politicians, business moguls, and media elites. The event had been planned for months, a symbol of power and influence. Barron arrived in a sleek black suit, his posture relaxed but his mind sharp. He had made sure Liam Carter was nearby, positioned strategically in the crowd with a hidden camera. If anything went down, they would have footage. As Barron moved through the room, shaking hands and exchanging pleasantries, his phone buzzed. Unknown caller. He answered. Good evening, Barron. The voice was calm, almost amused. Enjoying the event? Barron kept his expression neutral. I'm here, just like you wanted. Now, where's my proof? There was a pause. Patience. In exactly 10 minutes, we'll give you something undeniable. But only if you do your part. Barron's pulse quickened, but he kept his voice steady. And what exactly is my part? Ensure your father steps outside, alone. Barron clenched his jaw. They were setting a trap. But now, so was he. He moved across the room, scanning for his father. Donald Trump stood near the main stage, deep in conversation with a group of donors. If Barron played this wrong, security would get involved too soon. Instead of going straight to him, Barron approached one of the Secret Service agents stationed near the back. A man named Richards, experienced, loyal, and perceptive. "Richards, I need a favor." The agent eyed him. "What kind of favor?" "My father needs to step out for a private meeting. It's urgent." Richards frowned. "That wasn't scheduled." "I know. But neither was what's about to happen if we don't control the situation." Richards studied him for a long moment, then gave a slow nod. "I'll make sure it's discreet." As the minutes ticked down, Barron made his way to the side entrance where the meeting was supposed to happen. He sent Liam a quick message. "Be ready. The moment they move, start recording." Then he waited. The moment of truth was coming. Barron Trump stood near the side entrance of the Grand Liberty Hotel, his heart pounding in his chest, but his face remained composed. He had spent his life in the public eye, learning how to mask his emotions. Tonight, that skill was more valuable than ever. Liam's text popped up on his screen. "Liam, cameras in place. We're rolling." Barron inhaled sharply. This was it. The ballroom was still buzzing with conversation when Secret Service agent Richards subtly made his way toward Donald Trump. Leaning in, he whispered something in his ear. Donald Trump furrowed his brow slightly but nodded, excusing himself from the conversation. He moved with his usual confidence, oblivious to the hidden eyes watching his every step. As he reached the side exit, Barron was already waiting for him. "What's going on?" Donald asked, his voice low but firm. Barron kept his voice just as low. "There's something happening tonight. A setup. I don't have all the details, but I need you to trust me." Donald Trump studied his son's face. For all the years he had spent in the world of high-stakes business and politics, he knew when someone was playing a game. Barron wasn't playing. He nodded once. "All right, kid. I'm listening." From across the street, a black SUV idled, its headlights dimmed. Barron's phone vibrated. "Unknown caller." He answered. "He's outside. Now where's my proof?" A chuckle on the other end. "Look to your left." Barron did. A hooded figure stepped from the shadows, a phone in hand. The glow of the screen was faint, but Barron could see a blurred image. His father, seated at a desk, a document in front of him. The figure turned the phone slightly, enough to let Barron see that it was a video. They had something. Or at least, they wanted him to think they did. "We need to talk face to face," Barron said, his voice steady. "No more games." The voice on the phone was amused. "Smart move. But if you're lying, your father won't be the only one in trouble." The line went dead. Barron turned to his father. "We need to go inside. Now." Donald nodded. "Let's see how deep this goes." Barron Trump and his father stepped back inside the Grand Liberty Hotel, the weight of the moment pressing down on them. Whatever was about to unfold, Barron knew one thing. He had to be in control. Liam's voice came through his earpiece. "I've got eyes on the guy. He's moving toward the back exit. Want me to follow?" "Stay close, but don't engage," Barron responded. "We need to see what their next move is." Donald Trump, now fully aware of the gravity of the situation, turned to his son. "Tell me what you know." Barron kept his voice low as they walked toward a more secluded area. "Someone's trying to force your hand. They claim to have damaging evidence, something from your past. But I don't think it's real. They want to control the narrative before you even see what they have." Donald nodded thoughtfully. Classic play. Get someone on defense before they realize there's nothing to defend against. Barron's phone buzzed again. Unknown caller. He answered. "I told you, we talk face to face. No more calls." A pause. Then the voice, colder this time. "Fine. You have 5 minutes. Back alley, behind the kitchen. The line went dead. Barron exhaled sharply, glancing at his father. I'll go alone. Donald raised an eyebrow. Not happening. They expect me to be scared. They need me to be desperate. If you walk in, they lose the upper hand. Donald studied his son for a long moment before finally nodding. All right, but you get 2 minutes. If you're not out by then, I come in. Barron smirked. Fair deal. The alley behind the hotel was dimly lit, the cold air thick with tension. Barron stepped forward, his sharp gaze locked on the hooded figure standing a few feet away. The man held up his phone, showing a still from the alleged video. One word from me, and this goes public. Barron didn't flinch. Then do it. The man hesitated. What? Barron took a slow step forward. If you had real evidence, you wouldn't be here. You wouldn't be calling me. You wouldn't be giving me a choice. Silence. Barron tilted his head slightly. You need me to panic. You need me to run back inside and beg my father to do whatever you say, because deep down, you know that if I don't react, you've got nothing. The man's grip on the phone tightened. Barron took another step closer. So go ahead. Post it. Let the world see what you've got. A muscle in the man's jaw twitched. He took a step back, then another. And then he turned and ran. Liam's voice came through the earpiece. I've got him on camera. He's done. Barron exhaled, his body finally relaxing. They had won. Inside the hotel, Donald Trump clapped his son on the back. That was well played. Barron smirked. I learned from the best. By the time the night was over, the so-called scandal had vanished. The man behind the threats disappeared into obscurity. The video? It never surfaced, because it never existed. Barron had called their bluff, and he had won. Wow, what a night. Barron Trump just proved that sometimes the best way to win is not by fighting, but by staying one step ahead. He didn't just react, he controlled the entire game. And in the end, the ones who tried to trap him ended up exposing themselves. This story is a reminder that power isn't just about influence or wealth. It's about knowing when to stand your ground and when to let your enemies destroy themselves. What do you think? Did Barron handle it the right way? Or should he have played it differently? Let us know in the comments. And if you love gripping stories like this, make sure to hit that like button, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you never miss an episode. Stay tuned, because in the world of power, secrets, and strategy, there's always another story waiting to be told. Thanks for watching, and see you in the next one.